So let's go with Ashley first. Ms. Jost.
You guys don't want to open with anything in particular? We can just get going.
Well, I believe that we had a really very informative discussion today about the value of public higher education and the need for universities in the state of Missouri to become more efficient and to use resources that arise from those efficiencies to improve the university when it comes to student success, research, and engagement. And I think you saw that the curators and the administrators were all engaged in that topic. And we have to rethink public higher education, and we are up to the challenge. So we're very excited about that.
If I just want to make one thing clear, because we have an aggressive board, and I think that's what we should be. I'm speaking for myself. I've been around the University of Missouri since 1975 and have been involved both on the appropriation side in the General Assembly, as has my wife when she was in the State Senate. So I've known the leadership at this university since 1975. And while we ask aggressive questions, I mean this very seriously. Top to bottom, this is the strongest leadership this university has ever had. And in my time around it, I have never seen such unification between the administration, both at the system, the chancellors, and the faculty, and the students.
And the board.
And the board. But it is just, we have a lot of challenges and opportunities, but I feel that things are really going very, very well. And Ashley, you were at the student meeting, and you, I think, would agree with me, although you don't get to do that, that we had generally good feeling from the students, that the outreach has worked, and I am just very optimistic about the future, and I think that I can speak for the board saying that.
I'm kind of curious, you made a comment earlier about transparency when discussing tuition increases. And I read the comments on stories like I'm sure you guys do, and we all regret it, but there are a lot of people who just don't understand that, how Missouri is as a state actually ranks against other states when it comes to tuition increases. I know you're really a leading voice on 912 in the legislature, but have you had time to reflect at all individually since that discussion earlier on what we can and should be doing to better communicate to people that might hit home a little bit better than what we're doing right now?
If I could
Go ahead, you go first.
Well, because this has been something that I've been interested in for quite a while, and particularly I got my cue when I started studying Arizona State. Tuition increases are not easily understood, and in fact, when the Board of Regents President, Fred Duvall, voted for the massive tuition increase at Arizona State, which was actually to have revenue to increase accessibility, he ended up getting beat in his race for governor, and that became a major issue. Tuition is a complicated jigsaw puzzle. It is part of an entire package that is also scholarships. It's also Pell eligible students getting scholarships. It's also scholarships that you use to keep your best and the brightest and your national merit scholars. Our surrounding states, particularly Arkansas, are using that technique to recruit in the state of Missouri. And so the political challenge is, it's always easy to say, I don't want to increase tuition. To me, that's the wrong question. The right question is, can we make use of more revenue to better serve the state of Missouri and its students and increase accessibility? And that's a hard thing to understand. It is a hard thing for us to accurately communicate, and I haven't done a good job right now because I can't give you a pithy two-sentence comment that you can write in an article. Tuition is complicated. If done right, increased tuition can increase accessibility.
Nothing for me to add. That was great. Thank you. Let's go to Ms. Toomey.
Ashley actually kind of stole my question. That was what I was going to ask about in terms of tuition and how communicating that better to the public. But I think one of the things that you had spoken about in your president's report, or maybe it was during the question and answer after, regardless, you said that the reaction from lawmakers, I think maybe Greater Chapman, you asked about the reaction from lawmakers when you would present some of the data, specifically, that 1998 nominal number, and then looking at 1970 with some of those cuts. So they were surprised. I was surprised to hear that they were surprised, because I know that history has kind of set the precedent that anytime they need to look for a big chunk of money somewhere, they're going to pull that from higher education. So can you talk a little bit about why that is so surprising? It seems like common sense that we would be in this struggle when we've seen state appropriations decline since the early 2000s.
I think primarily it's because we've always had very short time frames in which we are dealing with issues. When we're dealing with budgets, it's an annual issue that we're dealing with. But if we look at it contextually, in terms of historically what has our appropriations been, when we look back to 1998, we find that that's when the nominal dollars equals the nominal dollars that are proposed. And so for us, looking back, I think was very important to see how were we doing back then. And I'm not saying that we were inefficient as a university, but during that period when we recognized that our student enrollment has almost doubled since the 90s to 2018, that means that we've had to operate more efficiently. There's still ways to go. We recognize that in terms of the administration and maybe redundancies that we have in the system, which we're going to be addressing very aggressively. But for us, it just gave us a very important input to see where we've been and recognizing that we have become more efficient, but we can be even more efficient going into the future.
Did you have any lawmaker who, after you presented some of these facts, figures, statistics, said, whoa, I got this wrong. I need to be reprioritizing how I think about things with this new information?
So during one of the testimonies, I think at the Senate, one of the senators was surprised that during the past 2 years, if this budget does go through, the core appropriations would have been reduced by about $80 million. I think this senator was surprised by that.
Prior to the governor
Mhm.
presenting his budget,
Sure.
you have an opportunity to speak with him or his staff to explain what the impacts would be on the University of Missouri of additional cuts?
We, as members of COFI, we have frequent conversations with Commissioner Mulligan and members of the governor's staff, and we talk about the value of higher education as well as the need to become more efficient and to ensure that those efficiencies are used to support what is important at a university. And the key one is student success, and that's key. And so, yes, those conversations have been had.
Do you feel that they're attempting to capture the dollars you've identified in the administrative consultant's report and bring them back to the state rather than leaving for you to pursue the goals you set?
Go ahead.
You want me to answer that? Okay. I believe that they see that they recognize that University of Missouri, like many universities, can become more efficient. And if we can use those efficiency measures to become a stronger university that can address the needs that we have in student scholarship or faculty hiring or research infrastructures, they would like to see us moving in that direction. Having said that, we recognize why there is the need to have public education and other sectors in the state step up to contribute to the deficit that the state is facing. So we definitely want to play our role in providing relief for the current situation. But we also know that we have to pursue efficiency measures because we want to become a stronger university.
We are not in conflict as a university with the governor or the legislature's office. We are actually in partnership, and these are difficult budget times. There's going to have to be a lot of hard decisions made in Jefferson City and at the university, but at the end of the day, I am confident that we will be more efficient. We will move resources that may have been moved inappropriately before back into classrooms and laboratories, and at the end of the day, we will convince the people of Missouri, as well as their elected representatives, that the future of this state depends on a great University of Missouri.
Yes.
We've heard a lot about different things that Mizzou in particular is doing to help kind of bolster enrollment, of course, considering the context. But are you seeing anything that's happening that's particularly innovative at any of the campuses or all of the campuses that that has you hopeful that what we heard today about applications will yield enrollment?
There are so many innovations that are occurring, whether it's Missouri S&T working with Project Lead the Way to train 700 teachers, primarily from rural parts of the state, so that they can inspire students to pursue STEM degrees. That's a very innovative approach. And because of that, they are attracting students that are very highly selective students. On average, the ACT scores at Missouri S&T is 28, and I believe that's the highest in the state. Other programs include the bridge program that is operated by UMSL to work with students from underrepresented groups to give them a residential experience during the summer so that they have a better feel and understanding of what college life is like. And I think those opportunities were also very helpful in UMSL having, as you saw, the highest, among the top 57 public universities, the highest African American student population.
If
Yes.
I could go back really quickly to,
What is your name?
my name is Daniel Constantine.
From?
Columbia, Missouri.
Okay.
I wanted to ask a question about something you said yesterday, Dr. Chloe, about the governor's budget.
Mhm.
So there has been some pushback at the state legislature towards the government's proposed cuts. And you said yesterday something to the effect of that the feeling you're getting from state lawmakers is that they've got, you said, we've got your back. And you also said that the university will have to take its cuts like everyone else. I was wondering, in light of that comment, what you sort of are expecting or projecting the cuts to be, if you expect it to be the full extent of Brendan's proposal or somewhat lessened.
I don't know what the cuts are going to be in the end. And when legislators share with presidents like me or chancellors that they have our back, what they're saying is they understand the value of higher education. That's what they're saying. And that we need to make investments in public higher education as we are for K through 12, because that investment leads to economic development in the state. And we all believe in that. And so I really do appreciate it. If I had my wish, I would like to see our core budget restored to fiscal year 17, which is at $465 million. But also, but we are realistic, and any help that the governor and the legislators can provide will be much appreciated. And I say that on behalf of our students. Was there a second part to your question?
No, that's
Okay, good. Thank you. Yes.
In the task force report that was recently released, I know this is just specific to MU.
That's right.
It was written in there that MU has a strategic goal, I think this is coming from the Strategic Enrollment Committee, of increasing its undergraduate class to 6,000 by 2023.
Mm-hmm.
Based on these application numbers, do you feel like you are set on a good path to meet that goal? Do you feel like you're going to surpass it? Talk to me about that.
I think we're on a good path. This year, the application numbers have increased by about 17%, and 17% of 4,200 undergraduate students is about, what is 17%? It's I can't do my
You're an
math. It's about
engineer, you can do
it's
that.
it's about 600. Let's go with 600, okay? So we will be close to 5,000 if the yields hold. But I just want to be mindful if the yields hold, because the yield curve is really dependent on year to year, and our university has undergone so many dramatic changes during the past 2 years, it's hard to predict. But we're also focusing not only on freshmen, but also transfer students. Some of the innovations like developing a transfer center where we have a one-stop shop for transfer students to matriculate, get information, and also get acclimated to the campus is very key. And so we do see that they are well on their way, but more work has to be done. But with more students, we have to ensure that we have faculty members to teach them. We have staff members who can provide the support when it comes to counseling and mental health. But also, the experiential learning component also requires investments as well. Thank you.
In a task force.
Yes.
One ship, 7-ship, 5-ship task force. I'm trying to
Yes,
figure out
yes.
what the university looks like, and I'm going to use that forever.
That's not forever.
So I want to unpack that a little bit. Does that boil down to like potentially looking at branding we talk about, I almost feel like S&T is the reason this is such an outlier, right? Because they rebranded a decade ago or whatever it was.
Well, of course, Curator Chapman, who's here, is going to head up that task force, but what I asked them to do was everything is on the table. And they're going to sift through it, decide what bites are the most important. Every one of the chancellors is on that task force. And so I think everything's on the table.
So, Daryl, you want to use that mic?
Yeah.
I guess I have a hard time imagining how reasonable this undertaking is.
Well,
It's massive.
The scope is as much as we're going to make it, you know. And we're actually our chancellors are engaged. They're actually going to be answering some questions and kind of driving the detail here because, you know, we're not university administrators. The curators are not. So we're going to be relying on their expertise, their knowledge. A lot of them have been involved in systems previously. And they've got a good idea of how their campuses work and what things they can potentially bring to the table that we can have some efficiencies with. And so we're going to really be relying on them to kind of give us the detail as we move through this process. So everything's on the table, and we're excited about what we can actually learn from the chancellors and some of the efficiencies we can make. That also goes to some of the cuts and efficiencies that we're looking for elsewhere as well. So this is a very ambitious goal, but at our April board meeting, we hope to sit down and really lay the foundation on some basic principles of what makes us one University of Missouri.
And make some decisions.
And make some decisions. So, and then I think from there we can work out details, you know, later on at our next board meeting or at a retreat. But we plan to have something fairly concrete in April. Yeah.
Do you have a question?
Yeah, I'm Jason Wilson from Missouri. I was wondering, one of the main goals laid out by MU is going to fill all the residence halls next year. And I wondered, like, with this increase in applications, how feasible is that goal?
I believe that the plan is, other than the dormitory residence hall that's being used by MU Health as an office building, that all the other residence halls that are available will be filled. And part of that is because of increased interest in freshmen and transfer students wanting to come to Mizzou, and also returning students who are attracted because of the lower dining and residence hall options that are available. Mhm. Question back there, and that'll be the last one, if that's okay.
I have two questions.
You have another?
Mr. Chapman, if that's all right.
Yes,
Sure.
please.
So my first question is, can you kind of touch back on, the increase in applicants, especially with the Mizzou, you said it was a 17% increase. What does that look like moving for the future of Mizzou, and how does that maybe tie into budget cuts? Is that something that could help? Is that kind of a glimmer of hope, I guess, in the tunnel?
The question is for, oh, yeah.
That one was for you.
Yeah, the increase in application is very, very promising. And we not only saw an overall increase of 17%, but the students from underrepresented minority groups, African American students, as well as Hispanic students, grew tremendously. And I believe the number of increase for African American and Hispanic students was on the order of 1,600 compared to last year. That's a dramatic increase. So I just want to go back to what I stated before. I believe that the public, students, and their parents are recognizing the value of the University of Missouri, Columbia, and the other campuses. In fact, UMSO is up 35% in their freshman application, and UMKC is up about 25%, which is very impressive as well. And S&T, I don't think you have too much space left over, but they're up about 13%. So very promising.
And then for Mr. Chapman, you mentioned in the review that we're lacking, we could possibly be lacking on core funds, and when we don't have those core funds, we have to take from other places to compensate. And you mentioned either whether that be cutting, letting go more employees or raising the tuition. Can you explain that just a little bit more to me?
Well, we've talked a lot about, you know, raising tuition, or at least having that as an option, putting that on the table. No one's said that's immediately what we're going to do. All I wanted to do was just bring other things to light, which I'm sure Moon has already considered, but I wanted to just emphasize other ways to increase revenue without putting that burden on our students. And Moon shares that concern, the board shares that concern. But I did want to make sure that we discussed it. But I just worry about our students getting access to this great university. I don't want to decrease that at all by raising tuition if we don't have to, and if we have other sources of revenue that we can use to fill some of those gaps.
We're going to have to, because we got curators.
We do. Just let me just add, I do appreciate Curator Chapman's concern for the student. I really appreciate that, and we should all embrace that kind of concern for our students. Our request regarding Senate Bill 912 was to increase the cap, but the ultimate decision of increasing tuition will be a board decision, and the university administration will have to make a case why we're requesting an increase in tuition. I think that's going to be
And it
key.
doesn't have to be across the board. I mean,
Doesn't have to be
we need
across the
move on
board.
because We have other curators waiting, but tuition increases can be differential, they can be
That's
surcharges. It's a complex issue. I apologize, we have executive session still going on, so, thank you all very much.
Thank you.